So, you want to become a digital nomad and you think, unfortunately, that is just something for privileged people with a lot of money on their bank account, right? Well, while it is actually true and recommendable that having a certain financial buffer is, something that would give you a certain amount of security when things don't go as planned, what you need to budget for, or what you need, the amount of money that you need, is actually a lot less than you might think. And the cost of it will very greatly vary and depend on where you choose to go. So in this video, I'll talk about what you need to budget for and provide you with resources where you can see exactly what the cost of living will be in your chosen destination, so you can plan your trip accordingly. And if you stay to the end, I'll give you my best tip of how you can significantly reduce your cost of living as a digital nomad. Hi, my name is Sara. I'm passionate about working and traveling and experiencing the world. And if you want to learn more about working and traveling and experiencing the digital nomad lifestyle, please subscribe to my channel and click the little notification bell. I will be uploading videos on Wednesdays and Sundays. With that said, let's get right into it. So, the digital nomad lifestyle is getting more and more popular. I actually recently listened to an interview that said that at the moment there are 35 million digital nomads. Can you imagine? And the number is just growing and exploding. So this lifestyle is here to stay. If you're dreaming about it too, you might be wondering, however, how you could possibly afford such a lifestyle if you can barely afford 2 weeks of vacation a year. Well, let me share some insights with you. Let's start with looking at the financial differences between a vacation and the digital nomad lifestyle. Typically, when we're on vacation, we tend to splurge a lot more. We know that it's our 2 weeks out of a year that we are going to be off and get to do what we want. So of course, we're booking expensive hotels, we're eating out a lot more, might be drinking a lot more, and might be traveling to much more expensive countries. Also, while we are on vacation, we still have our reoccurring bills that we have to pay at home. Mortgage, car, insurance, all these things that just can't be put on hold while you're on vacation. And that actually might be one of the biggest differences between a vacation and a digital nomad lifestyle. When you decide to become a digital nomad, you get rid of everything, most likely your house, your car, all the extra costs, all the extra payments that you have in your daily life will disappear or be significantly reduced depending on your location. If you, for example, pay mortgage or rent for $1,000 a month and you move to a location where you can find accommodation for $300 a month, you're not going to continue paying the $1,000 at home. You move out, sell your house, and just have $300 to pay in your new location. You've already saved $700 right there. So here's what you do need to budget for as a digital nomad. And by the way, while we're at it, check out this video up here about the hidden costs of digital nomadism if you want to have some other tips of things that you should consider. Fixed costs for digital nomads include health insurance, accommodation, which can vary quite a bit depending on if you choose to stay in an Airbnb or maybe you decide to even house sit. There's a video up here, I'll link it down below as well. I always link everything down below. Internet, food, which also can vary quite a bit depending on if you decide to eat out a lot or cook at home. And transportation at your location, as well as while traveling from one spot to the next. Another potential cost could be costs of visas. If you need to attain visas or you decide to stay on digital nomads visas for your stays, this is another cost that you need to calculate. While budgeting for these things, I would recommend that you have an emergency buffer of 3 to 6 months so you can stay afloat should something happen, should you not be able to make enough income or something like that. Anyways, if you're deciding to travel slow or to slow mad, you will still save a lot of money on these things as opposed to being on vacation, because long-term rentals of Airbnbs are cheaper than, for example, renting a hotel room for a week. Again, if you have the possibility to cook at home or in your new home, in your digital nomad home, this will be cheaper than eating out in restaurants all the time. So there's still a lot of ways that you can save a lot of money even when you're living in a low-cost country. Furthermore, how much you can splurge very much depends on your financial situation, which in turn depends on your chosen one path to digital nomadism. Will you move abroad as a remote worker and therefore have a fixed income? Then you can probably afford a little more or afford to digital nomad in a little more expensive countries. Will you have freelance clients? In that case, do you have a base already? Or will you start from scratch and won't know how much reliable money will be coming in from the get-go? Thirdly, maybe you decided to start your own company. In that case, income might be particularly small or sparse in the beginning. So then I really recommend that you go to a cheaper country in the beginning so that your money doesn't run out as quickly. Accommodation is probably the biggest price point here, but in many countries you can actually rent a one-room apartment for between $250 and $600 a month. Cheaper if you don't want to stay smack down in town. There are actually countries where you can survive quite decently for $1,000 a month. And if you have a flat at home and you don't want to terminate your lease or sell it, consider renting it out. If you can get enough rent to cover your own expenses, then accommodation would basically be for free for you. Number 2, health insurance. Don't skimp on it. There's really no way around it. You are going to need health insurance. Check out and do your own research. Safety Wing is a company that is quite popular amongst digital nomads, but there are the ones, so I really recommend that you do your research here. Number 3, food. Again, very, very much dependent on where you go and what your lifestyle choices are. But in most cheaper countries, it's actually quite affordable to buy food, if only because most countries rely much more on whole foods than, for example, the US. But in many cheaper countries, it's actually quite affordable to buy food, both in the markets as well as on little street stalls or eat out for cheap. Internet. Well, there's really no way around internet. If you're a digital nomad, you're relying on internet to work. Generally, oftentimes internet will be included in your accommodation price. For example, if you rent an Airbnb, but depending on where you go, you might also actually not need to buy extra internet because it is available for free. For example, in Latvia, check out my video on the digital nomad visa to Latvia, and in many other Eastern European countries, there is free Wi-Fi available all around town. If that is not the case, then you might have to budget for access to internet either in your apartment or if you decide to work from co-working spaces or cafes that offer internet. Transportation. Well, you won't have to pay for your car. If you are paying off a car right now and paying for gas, then that is a big cost that you're already going to be saving on when you are a digital nomad. Most countries actually, or most bigger cities, are set up in a way where it is easier to get around by foot or on bike or by public transport than many cities in the US. I remember actually moving to Flagstaff in Arizona, and us European exchange students were the only ones that rode the bicycle through town, whereas the locals thought we were crazy. Anyways, so if you pick a digital nomad destination, check out, for example, what kind of public transport access there is and how much a monthly pass is. Or alternatively, if you can get around by bike, with a bicycle or on foot. Next, the cost of getting from one country to the next. Well, this depends on, of course, flights. Do you have to pay for visas? Are you taking the train, the bus? How are you planning to get from one destination to the next? Generally, my personal opinion here is if you are planning to make this a lifestyle, as in you're really going for traveling for years to come, then you're not in a hurry. I often hear about people saying that they're burnt out, they've traveled so much, they're tired, they're exhausted, they find it stressful. Yeah, that's true. Travel lifestyle can be hard and it can be taxing, but if you travel slow, if you move slowly from one country to the next, which you have the time for if you plan to make this your lifestyle for a long time, then it won't wear you out as much, it won't leave as big an imprint on the environment, and it will be a lot kinder to your wallet. Because many times I see people I'm not trying to step on your toes. If this is your thing, this is your thing, really, and that's fine, But sometimes I feel like people are like kids let loose in a candy store. They start to travel and they feel the need to, it's like a race, like a form of status race, who has managed to see the most amount of countries in the least amount of time. And then, of course, this will wear you out. But if you plan to make this your lifestyle and travel for years to come, what's the hurry? Why not stay in places for 2, 3, 6 months at a time. Get to know the culture, get to know the people, settle, calm down, find time to work and explore. And this lifestyle will be cheaper and it won't wear you out as much. Plus, you might actually learn something about the culture of the place that you are and make some meaningful connections. Again, this is only a tip, so you do you. If you do decide to book flights, however, you could check different dates. You could book with flexible dates. You could check different carriers, and you could try using a VPN service to change your VPN as in your location. Sometimes it is a lot cheaper to book a flight when the system thinks you're booking from a different country. Alternatively, don't bounce from planet to planet. For example, if you start your journey in Europe or Asia or any other continent, there are so many interesting places in countries on all of these continents. So instead of, flying from Thailand to Spain to Mexico and, back and forth, why not commit to discovering everything you'd like to see on one continent first and then move on? That way you could take buses or trains between the different countries and would, save a lot of money on transport that way as well. So before we get to my best tips, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button for this video. This is a completely free way for you to support me in my efforts here. Thank you. Now, my best tips. First of all, plan properly and plan ahead. I have linked a couple of cost of living websites down below where you can calculate and really see what the cost of living for your chosen location is. So particularly if you are on a tight budget in the beginning of your journey, stick to that, really compare, cross-check and see, even in a certain country, if there are different locations that could be a lot cheaper on your budget. Number 2, cook at home. Avoid eating out, and if you eat out, eat out like the locals. Don't go to Starbucks. Starbucks is everywhere, but honestly, almost everywhere I've been, Starbucks prices are the same as they are in the US. So if you want to buy a cup of coffee and not pay $5 for it in a country where you could get a very decent restaurant meal for $5, go buy the local coffee. Go eat the local food from the local markets. Go buy local food at the local markets and cook at home. And thirdly, I've already touched upon that, but try to stay longer. It is a lot easier to negotiate cheaper rents when you stay in a rental like an Airbnb for a longer time. If you stick to these rules, as in live more like the locals and less like you would at home, adjust to the way that the locals live their lives, you will be able to save a lot of money compared to your home life, your home country, when digital nomading. And if you would like to have more tips on how you could save money, how you could make extra money, and how you can build a digital nomad business / side hustle to become a digital nomad within 1 year, check out this playlist here. So your dream of becoming a digital nomad and living a location independent lifestyle could be true within a year. With that said, bye bye, go check out this world for yourself.